Hey, it's Alexander Peak, psychic medium and astrologer, otherwise known as Dogstore Oracle. Welcome to the Dogstore Oracle Report. In this video, we're going to be talking about psychic development 101, what are the steps of psychic development? How does it work? This is free information. I am teaching a class, an 8-week course, my psychic development level 1 class. I've taught it quite a few times at this point with really good success. Small class size. It's going to be online. It's an 8-week course, helping you to tap into your inner psychic medium, your inner channel. All have intuitive and psychic ability. Sometimes it's just about it. Sometimes it is about quieting your brain, so you can allow that information to come through and not have your ego get in the way. So if you read tarot, but you want to be able to be more confidently tap into intuitive information without using an external tool. If you're a therapist and you want to learn how to tune into your client's energy more, or to learn how to clear and protect your energy, this might be a really good class for you. I tend to attract therapists, social workers, and people who are also heavily analytical and want to learn how to kind of tune that out a little bit, or not let it take over so much in when you are connecting to energy. So if you want to learn those steps, that class starts July 8th. More information, dogstoreoracle.com. So in this video episode, or audio podcast, whichever you're listening to, I want to talk about like the steps of psychic development, as well as like what is happening when I'm in a session, when I'm doing a reading for someone, what's going on. So first of all, what do we mean by psychic? Are we predicting the future? Like, what's going on? I guess the way I define psychic, and I sometimes I like using that word because I like taking the word back a little bit. As the word intuitive sometimes to me is too like I get vibes. Psychic to me is like I have skills that I've developed. And the way I define psychic to me is like connecting to your higher mind or higher self for information, knowledge, and understanding that leaves part of your human mind and judgment and third dimensional self kind of at the door, and opens the door for greater information to flow through you. And this is also about connecting to um, beings and energies in spirit, or higher energies for information and for healing. So I'm like, okay, so it sounds like a tall order. How do we achieve this? First of all, know that this is a completely natural thing that human beings do. We all probably have times where we're like, oh, I should, like do X or Y today and don't really know why. And then it turns out when you do that was extremely beneficial for you. Or like, hey, I should move this thing over here. I just feel like that thing is gonna fall and I don't know why. And then the thing falls and you're like, yay, trusted my intuition. I moved my whatever from getting crushed, right? Or like we sometimes we can understand that little voice that we have inside that is usually like right, just dead on right. And you're like, so learning how to listen to that more. And so how do we achieve sort of a higher sort of state of consciousness, or how do we achieve like connecting, like reading psychic energy or connecting to spirit? So the first thing I always say is like, we got to get calm before we can receive any kind of message in spirit, or to tap into and to get to that kind of higher consciousness. So the first thing that I always say is like, you need to ground your energy first. It's if you're like a lightning rod and you're receiving information from spirit, that energy has to go somewhere. The energy is going to go into the earth. So grounding is the first thing that we are doing. Grounding and setting the space for connection. So that is like, okay, like this room that I'm in, I also sleep in. This is also where I do sessions. So I'm like, for me, when I have like a client day or I'm connecting to spirit, the first thing that I'm going to do is kind of set the space for connection. So, like, I'm going to tidy up, I'm going to clean, I'm going to set my intention that this room is now like a reading room or it's a healing space. So, I'll burn some incense. I'm going to imagine that I'm clearing any energy out from this space that does not belong or that does not fit this energy. And then I'll go into, I'll get into like a little ritual or meditation. And the first thing I'm always going to do is some sort of grounding. So that can be achieved by like going outside, like putting your feet in the earth, getting fresh air, like connecting to Mother Earth. I'll usually do it in this space, like inside. And I will do that with sitting in my chair or my bed. My feet will be on the floor. I will light a candle and I'm like, okay, we're going to kind of connect to our sacred space. And I will imagine, like tree roots that I'm growing from my feet or frankly from like my tailbone where my root chakra is. Or I'll imagine like a grounding cord. And I'm going to imagine that that is going to plug into the center of Mother Earth. And I will spend some time getting quiet, connecting in with my body, and then really like quieting my mind. And then imagining that any energy that is not mine or that belongs to someone else or that I picked up somehow that needs to go somewhere, I imagine the earth is taking that from me and that I'm releasing whatever I don't need. And it's not about overthinking, like, oh, where's this energy going? Or like, oh my God, like, what am I releasing? And it's just about like I kind of go from the top of my head, bottoms of my feet, just imagining that I'm releasing. And by the end of that, I usually feel like less mentally like, whoa, and I'm more calm. So grounding is really important. And I think is the most important part of psychic development. I think. And I spend a lot of time on it. We do that every day. And when I teach my classes, we do that every class. So because how this higher energy, the spiritual energy that you're connecting to has to go somewhere. Like you have to be able to allow energy to run through your body and through your energy system if you are going to kind of maintain a channeling state or this higher state of consciousness where you're doing psychic stuff essentially, right? So there's some kind of grounding and setting the space for connection that I'm always going to do first. The next thing that I will do usually is outreach into the earth for like healing earth energy. And then that energy is going to be running through my body and like running through all of my chakras. And then at the same time, I'm calling down or I'm imagining that I'm calling down energy from the cosmos or energy from the heavens, like higher creative energies from spirit. Sometimes I'll just imagine that like, oh, like I'm calling down this healing golden energy from the heavens as I'm calling up healing energy from Mother Earth. You need both cosmic or higher energies as well as earth energy um, uh, to like enter a channeling space, or at least to that's how I see it. Or you need both of these things. Like you need to balance the earth with heaven. Like, and you're kind of this, and like when you do that, you're kind of this conduit or this middle point. Like we need the higher consciousness, but also the grounded practical earth energy. And we need to maintain a space of balance. So I always do that as well. And I always imagine that flowing through my chakra system and through my aura. And it's like clearing and releasing and energizing as it goes. And as I do it, I can feel myself kind of fall into a deeper relaxation state, a deeper sort of state of awareness as well when I do it. And over time, it gets easier, but I always imagine heaven and earth, like I'm connecting to both. The next thing I will do is some sort of like either like imagining that I'm releasing any not neutrality or like a state of judgment, because when I'm reading, when I'm connecting with clients in a psychic medium reading or in a spirit, I call it like spirit reading, when I'm connecting in that way, you really want to be in a state of awareness, but not judging. Because when we start judging and we put our belief system, on our client or whatever we're doing, or when we're connecting to spirit, when we're not, it's like when we do that, really close ourselves off to spirit instead of being open. And so, I will just kind of imagine that I'm like putting any energy that is in my way, any judgmental energy or whatever it is, like into a rose, like an imaginary rose or another object. And then I push that rose away from me and I explode it. And or I make it, disappear. And that's just like a visualization tool that helps you move energy out of your space. And then I will often kind of imagine intentionally clearing the center of my head or like the space around my third eye. The center of the head, as I was taught, is connected to your third eye. And that to me is where I naturally will go when I'm connecting with spirit, when I'm working with energy, because it's like it's control center of your body. It it sort of gets you into this space of seniority, like confidence, and wisdom, and also helps you because sometimes if we're like kind of down in our lower energy centers, like we can kind of get into fight or flight or go into competition. That's not what we want. And to kind of get into our psychic space. We really want to get clear or as clear as we can. So I'll just imagine clearing out any thoughts or any energies that might be here in my sixth chakra or in the, kind of in my just in my reading space as I call it. I imagine letting those go as well. And it's not that I'm like trying to achieve this ultra state of clarity and perfect whatever, but doing these things definitely just gets me in the zone. Like it just really gets me more in this space. And I can always tell, in a reading if I'm like, I did not prepare enough for this. I didn't set enough time to me to be clear and relaxed and open. Like if I just jump into it, oftentimes it's a little bit harder for me to connect. So I'll always spend time doing that. And then last thing, usually some kind of I'm setting my intention. I'm telling spirit and universe, okay, I want to connect to divine source energy. I'm ready to be a clear messenger. My intention is to connect to spirit for just information or for healing, or I'm going to connect to a specific client. And that's where I really just kind of pray and I start connecting to this sort of inner divinity. And I connect to also to my heart chakra as well. And it's like I get in that space and then I'm ready, bitch. Like, let's go, you know? And doing this just helps me to quiet my mind, which is the main objective. Helps you to quiet your mind to just clear any residual spiritual energies that are not in alignment with the work that you are about to do or with the opening that you're about to do. So it's like so this is kind of really what I do when I prepare for a session, or if I am like, going to channel a message like for the collective or something, I'll do all of these things and because we want to be as clear as we can and as neutral as we can when we do sessions. So when I'm actually doing a reading for someone, this is kind of what it is like. So I really don't want information beforehand. I've had people like email me, they're like, what's going on with their life? I'm like, I don't want to know. No offense. I love you. I don't want to know. That's going to cloud my judgment. Um, at least, for like the first time that I'm meeting someone because I want to go in really clear and really not have any preconceived notions and allow the spirit to take the wheel. And so when I'm doing a session for someone, I'll say, hey, how's it going? Don't tell me too much though. and and then I'll say a prayer, set my intention. For me personally, I will connect to the Akashic Records. So it's like I can feel this higher level of wisdom or knowing to start to open up within me. But the way what I teach my students to do in my classes is like, okay, once we're in the session, once you're grounded, and once you're running your energy, now is the time. And I'll have them close their eyes, and I'll close mine as well. And let's say that you're reading for another person. We will have that person say their name 3 times. It's just kind of how I was taught, carrying on the tradition. Something about hearing their voice starts to stimulate something. And when I'm focusing on and what I will often have happen is I will start to see an image, a visual, and that will be accompanied by an instantaneous feeling. So let's say my intention is okay. I'm going to see a psychic symbol in my headspace in my third eye when you say your name 3 times, and that will just kind of get everything going. And oftentimes it will be in the form of a rose. That was kind of the initial thing that I was taught. I still kind of carry that on, but it changes depending on the day and on the client. And so let's say I'm tuning into someone's energy and I'm immediately feeling their higher self or spirit show me like I'm seeing an orange rose that is spinning, 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 spinning. But then I'm also seeing like a person with purple energy, like meditating. And then and then I'm seeing the color blue. And for whatever reason, these images are telling me instantaneously I'm getting a feeling. And I don't know how I'm getting this feeling. But I do. But in a session as a psychic, you just need to spit it out what you're getting. And the orange to me, orange in my readings always mean change. And the rose is like spinning and it's like telling me I'm like something is changing really, really, really fast. The purple person meditating sounds so weird, but this is actually like a reading I just did. That's why I'm generating these. That's why I'm talking about it. The purple person meditating, I could like feel that this person was having some kind of spiritual awakening that was connected to this. And like the orange was covering all of this blue. And I could feel like this person, blue to me in that moment was like this person kind of a caregiver, they're responsible. And also, blue is a sense of their routines and safety, and something is changing about all of that. And as I'm talking about it, I'll talk about what I'm getting for. I'll talk about what I am getting for a few minutes before I even ask if this makes sense, because I don't want to rely too much on validation of that person. Um, but I'm like, hey, does that resonate with you? Does it make sense? She's like, yes, in ways that I cannot even begin to explain, because this person was talking about how they've always had this very stable career, which was the blue. And they were involved in a caretaker of children. They're involved in education. And the orange was that their career is transforming a lot. And they also had been having this spiritual awakening for the past few years as well. And because, like, to me, I'm like, I can always feel my mind being like, you sound dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. There will always be that kind of voice in my head. But, senior me knows I just got to roll with it. And so she absolutely confirmed what I was getting. So that is kind of what it will look like. For me, it's a lot of clairvoyance, seeing things, seeing movies, images, pictures that mean things. It sort of taps into my sort of inner subconscious dictionary. Like meditating person means this, purple means that. Um, if I will often, because of the amount of Disney movies I watched as a young child, I will often have like Disney characters in my head when I'm doing a reading. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing like I saw recently I was seeing this person asked me to connect to their guides, and I saw like Little Mermaid, and she was like flopping around on the beach, and like I just saw mermaid, beach, waves, ocean, mermaid, and I was like, that's what I'm getting. And she's like, oh, I moved to Florida so I could be by the beach, like, and so I could be doing those things. So it was sort of like her spirit guide was sort of like reflecting back her own truth at her. I will often sometimes hear or receive telepathic information as well. Sometimes that is a song. Sometimes that is a word that I'm hearing. I will hear spirit almost through my right ear. Like I'll feel it here. That does happen when I'm connecting more with like a passed over individual. I'll often get kind of more auditory information. Sometimes I'll like see a word um, in my brain as well. So it's a mixture of how I'm receiving information. Sometimes it is a clear knowing. Sometimes I just know without knowing why I know, but it's like this feeling of just information that comes in through my crown chakra, which is my connection to the universe and all that is. Sometimes it will be a feeling in my body. Whenever I have a moment where I'm like, is this Alex making shit up? Versus spirit, my higher mind, I will kind of stop what I'm doing, and then I'll like release any energy that is in doubt or that isn't sure or that isn't in neutrality. And I'll stop and I'll clear. And then when I come back to the reading, then I'll kind of know. It's like I just sometimes my brain will still get in the way at this point, and stopping and taking a breath and clearing is always kind of what I'm having to do. So that's kind of an example of what psychic and channel information feels like and how that works for me. And usually, most of the time, that is through intention. That is through setting the space, being like, okay, I'm psychic now. I'm opening my psychic awareness. I'm opening my spiritual gifts. And then when that session is over, I always will close the session intentionally. I'm like, okay, any beings that I'm working with, any energy that I'm working with, thank you so much. I'm clearing any of my energy. I'm clearing energy when I was connecting to my client, and I kind of close down. It is not that I don't get spontaneous psychic information in real life because I really do a lot now. And just I think over the years I'm able to connect a lot more easily, but it's not like I'm feeling like people's loved ones bugging me, in the store, on the street, I'm like, oh, I have to give you a message. I am pretty good about my boundaries, my space. But I can kind of feel at this point, I'll start talking to a friend and I'm like, they're talking about this job and, in the back of my mind, I'm like, they're not going to be at that much long. Like that is not the right career for them, but I'm not going to give that information right now because that is not appropriate. I have had spontaneous channelings though come through and spontaneous downloads as well, but I will recognize them when it happens. And I am a lot better, I think, now at recognizing those. And I feel like I'm just more confident in my space. I can kind of tell when I'm getting intuitive information more spontaneously. Because for a long time, I wouldn't really honor that because, I just wasn't sure. I was like, is this me making stuff up or like, what is it? And now I just have a lot better understanding of what that feels like. So yeah, that is some of kind of what a psychic or channeled information feels like. That's kind of how I open up and what a part of what a session is like with me. So if you are interested in connecting to that more, if you're interested in learning about that, I'm going to talk about my class now. And if you're catching this podcast or video at a later date when I'm not offering this class, I will always be offering it. Essentially, some version of it. I really want to do it like a couple times a year. So definitely check my website, check my social media for when I'm teaching this class. But this round of classes I'm teaching starting in July 2026. The first week will be around July 8th. That'll be a pre-recorded class. And we'll have 7 classes after that will be online via Zoom. So the goal of Psych Development Level 1 is to learn psychic exercises to tap into your inner channel, to learn what it is like for you, how you receive information from spirit, because we're all going to receive it differently, what your own, space feels like, and to kind of like learn to tap into like these classes are supposed to be fun too. Like definitely serious. It is a commitment. But if you're not having fun, if you're not kind of like in like a little bit of a lighter kind of vibe, it is harder to just allow yourself to flow and connect to spirit. So it's really learning about how to do that too. So it's learning how to ground, how to get connected, how to clear your energy. You're going to learn how to protect your energy as well as how to clear and move energy. And that is a really, really big, nice side effect is like, hey, having some tools to deal with like when you're overwhelmed, if you feel really empathic and you take on people's energy, like these techniques do help you to ground and recenter and clear your space just out in daily life. It's not just for doing readings and getting information from spirit, although that's a big part of it. It's about learning to connect to this inner you that is capable of connecting to intuitive information. So you're going to learn in these classes on how to do a basic psychic reading, quote unquote. And that is so that you can, if you want to go out and, begin maybe like a path of like you doing this for clients, that's definitely your prerogative. It's more about personal development though. And practicing with students, with your fellow students is going to really get you there a lot quicker than just doing it on your own, because you will see that like even though oftentimes you're going to feel like you're making stuff up when you're connecting with a fellow student, when you're doing psychic exercises, when you give yourself that freedom to be wrong, you can often discover how much information you are absolutely honing in on and how freaky it feels in a really good way and how easy it is to connect like that. So the basic steps to connect to all levels of psychic awareness, especially clairvoyance, we do focus a lot on visual stuff, but your other clairs fill in as well. And it's really about learning about how you connect to your higher mind, how you connect to spirit, and what your own channeling space feels like. We'll also learn about the chakra system and your auric field, and also how to read chakras in other people and other people's auras. Really fun way to do to get a lot of information about someone, about yourself. We'll also you'll be learning about spirit guides, angels, your spirit team, how they function, how you work with them, as well as clearing outdated spirit energy from your field as well, because maybe not all of your guides are supposed to be there. They might be left over from when you needed them when you were really little or when you from like a certain point in your life, but you may not need them anymore. So that's an interesting class as well. So each class is like 2 hours long, 1.5 to 2 hours long. They are spread out kind of into September because it's summer and people are traveling, and I don't want to overwhelm anyone with how with just going back to back to back to back. So really excited to teach it. More information can be found at docs.oracle.com, where you can register there. I will say, I think the fee is pretty reasonable, to be honest, too. You get a lot out of it. I think it can really accelerate your growth really quickly, but in a grounded and safe and fun way. And the early bird discount ends till June 24th. And the final day to sign up will be the day before, July 7th. So class size will be limited to 10. I already have 3 people. So I only 7 people or 7 spots remain. People say all the time, like, oh my God, limited size, like sign up today. I am for real about that. I'm not just faking it. Because of my structured classes, it's not just I shove a bunch of people through a funnel and then that's all. It is a small group class for a reason. You have direct access to me. And if you're ready, I would love to take you on this journey. And I'm going to be talking more about psychic development, about my journey and stuff too, a connection to spirit, just regardless. But I was like, let me talk about this a little bit more at length to give people an idea. So hope to talk to you soon. And can't wait to help you develop your psychic and channeling abilities. So talk to you soon, guys.